Father, we just come before you tonight, thanking you for this day that you gave us. Thanking you, Lord, for the opportunity to serve our community. We thank you for those around the council and the leadership that's in this room tonight for their service to the community, and ask that you bless them and their families. Bless us tonight and just give us wisdom as we work through our agenda. Help us to make decisions that will glorify you and that will honor the place that we serve. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Gloria. Item 1 is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
White.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Dilbeck.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Goldar.
Yes.
Comments on those assembled? All right, item 5, presentation of oral quarterly report on library usage and statistics on Perry Carnegie Library by Pam Legg, our head librarian.
Thank you, Kevin. This Friday, library directors from the Small Libraries Network will come to Perry to network. Before lunch, a couple of new directors will be arriving early so we can help them cull information from their circulation system for the annual report. Cleveland will be coming early to assist me with the training. The participating libraries all use the same library software. The rest of the group will join us and we will dine in Perry. After lunch, we'll meet and share ideas. So far, representatives from 9 libraries will be attending. The annual report is a requirement for all libraries and must be completed to receive state aid. We have 2 programs left for the summer reading program. Tomorrow is Shark Week, and Tuesday, October 26th is the Ocean Party. Attendance has been strong at our programs. Call to reserve a spot. The last day to turn in a reading log for prizes is July 29th. We enjoying the pictures? We've had some fun. The Perry Carnegie Library Progress Club paid to have the upstairs windows tinted within the last year. Our AC units struggle in the extreme heat, and these past few weeks, the tinting has made our interior and temperatures hold steady. A special thank you to the donors and members of the club. I will be completing the final paperwork for the ARPA grant this week. We received over $10,500 for protective gear, equipment, and furniture. The project is funded through, this is legally required, the Oklahoma Department of Libraries with a federal grant from the Institute of Museum and Library Services through the Library Services and Technology Grant Act. Library fun facts for 21-22. We had 2,248 in attendance for all library programs. 73 of those attending were adults for the adult programs. We had 165 programs during the year. 2,782 people in Noble County have library cards. 104 people borrowed materials from other libraries. There are 60,630 titles available on Overdrive, and to access that you need a library card. We currently have 20,631 items in the Perry Carnegie Library collection. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. All right, any new business? Item 7. Anyone want to advertise?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Roll call, please.
White.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Dilbeck.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Goldar.
Yes. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of Perry Municipal Authority, July 18th at 6:19. Roll call, please.
Wines. Marshall. White.
Here.
Coffee.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Dilbeck.
Here.
Vaughn.
Here.
Goldar.
Here.
Stroller.
We got invocation on here twice, so we'll consent agenda, item 1.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Please.
White.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Dilbeck.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Goldar.
Yes. 4, comments from those assembled pertaining to items on the PMA agenda. Okay. 5, proclamations, commendations, reports, and inquiries by the governing body. Any new business? All right, adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion, please.
White.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Dilbeck.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Goldar.
Yes. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Perry, July 18th. It is 6:21. Roll call, please.
Wines. Marshall. White.
Here.
Coffee.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Dilbeck.
Here.
Bond.
Here.
Goldar.
Here.
Stroller.
Quorum. Consent agenda, there's 3 items here.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call, please.
White.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Dilbeck.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Goldar.
Yes. 4, comments from those assembled pertaining to items on the city agenda.
Hello.
You'll state your name, please.
Melanie McGuire, for those of you that don't know me. It's been a while since we've been together. Myself and Kristen Hughes, Haley Borson, Cassie Groom, and Carly Rupp put together the Splash Pad project, as you guys probably know, with the intention that we would carry on and kind of do a phased approach with the park. Dixie Johnson actually helped us secure some funds right away that we were able to set aside, and after the splash pad was complete, we started working on plans for the playground. So what we talked with, and we talked with Craftsman, which was the vendor that we used for the splash pad, was looking at a design that would be an all-inclusive design. So that means there's different access points, there's ADA requirements, there's ramps with this design, people in wheelchairs or things of that nature can get up on this specific structure. So we finalized the design over a year ago. With Dixie's help, we had $25,000 in TSEP funds that were set aside through City of Perry that went to this project. The Malzahn Family Affiliated Fund matched that. So we had that, and then worked with the Oklahoma Lions Service Foundation to submit a Lions International Foundation matching grant. It's been about 3 weeks now, but we've learned that we've received that matching grant. So now we have $100,000 that's committed to this playground design. What once was a $138,000 quote a year ago is now $178,000. So we've been working with the vendor to try to do some redesigns, try to figure out where we can save some money. We are also working with the local Lions group here and then other organizations to see where we can get some additional funds for the project. We did cut out a swing set portion that took off a significant chunk from the design. So all in, and this is, by the way, a community build. So this would be members of the community putting this together. We do feel confident after talking with Craftsman that we could call on partners between, Ditch Witch, J&J helped us out tremendously with the splash pad. We've had a lot of other groups that came in and helped as well, but we feel confident that we'd be able to facilitate the project, which also saves money as well. So what we've talked about and what we'd like to present to council is to avoid any more price increases for the volatile conditions that we see with Craftsman, to get the actual equipment ordered, which is right at $100,000, which is what we have. We can order that in and of itself, and then it has about a 14-week lead time, and it would be delivered here to Perry. And then that would give us time to fundraise for the remaining portion of the project, put together our volunteers, how that's going to look, construction, all of those. I mean, we've got some obvious things to take care of at the park with taking down the old equipment, clean up, all those types of things that we'll have to help facilitate. And then hopefully we'll have the remaining, it's $56,000 that we'll need for board-in-place rubber surfacing, which if you've never been or never seen that, it's a solid surface structure. There's less maintenance with that. If you think of the traditional rock fill, wood fill, all those types of things, this makes it easier for, again, the mobility requirements that we see with the all-inclusive design. So we're excited about what we can get, even though we're a little bit over budget, we think that we can get there. We've got some good leads on that side of it, but ultimately we don't want to set aside and then not be able to secure the actual playground structure and see another price increase, because they do have price increases every month. So I'm assuming you guys were given a design in your packet. Okay, I had emailed the quote and the design in. So
I don't think the design was in what you said.
the renderings, that was like 6 different pages that came with that.
I didn't see it.
I did.
Did you see it?
Okay.
Item 4 on CLG.
Do you guys have a quote then? I mean, were they given like the quote? The working quote?
It's tab 13. No, it looks just like documents that I prepared, an advertisement and a sample contract. It doesn't look like the things that you prepared were added to the agenda.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, I am, because I thought they were there, but I guess I didn't.
I think he's getting caught up, but you mind if I ask a
No, go
question?
ahead, I don't even know where we're at.
So, without those in front of us, do you have the numbers?
So it's 97,000 for
97.
the structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was thinking about when you were talking earlier was the swing set and things that you are pulling on. Is that something that could still come back and in your phase things? Is that still included?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we want to be able, because we have a time limit too on the TSEC grant and
Sure.
the Lions International grant portion of that. We have 6 months to secure the additional funding needed to complete the project. And so we want to be mindful of that, get this part completed first. There's a ton of grant money out there. We've talked to the local Lions group about that as well. We talked to Bryce about the opportunities that the city sees as well of, hey, we have a lot of ideas and things we want to do with the park. I mean, I think you all know the pie in the sky is the pool. Eventually, we'd love to see that be a complete new project too, but we plan to continue on with additional add-ons with swing sets and rehab to the pavilion, and I think that there's lots of opportunities. So
that would be separate probably because the pour in place it doesn't have a footing around
correct,
it. And whatnot.
yeah. So the design concept that we put together with Craftsman is everything's connected by a winding sidewalk, but it's more so zoned where the splash pad is in this portion, the playground's over here, but it's all connected by a sidewalk that would eventually lead to the playground.
Cool.
So,
The way the bidding documents have been provided, because we do have to do bidding because there's a grant here. You need to kind of remember the rules. If it's over $100,000, then you have to provide for the Public Competitive Bid Act, I think the 74 rules, which requires performance bond, maintenance bond, statutory bond, normally 40% more cost. Now that is a contract involving materials and labor. What we're thinking is that this will come in under $100,000, and we're not attaching labor to this. So we're just going outright, doing a bid, and hoping that, that we get a bid under $100,000. In fact, the bid specification that I did said that if it's over 100, and or if it involves labor, then we're going to have to do a different bidding. as I understand, it's going to be a community build. Maybe volunteer will assist with some professionals, perhaps from the company that we choose to do it. But our portion would just be to purchase the big toy. I call it a big toy. The specs are Craftsman or substantially similar. Okay, so I mean, you're going to get probably a Craftsman proposal, and you'll get some other proposals, and it's your job to figure out what's the lowest responsive bid, which means lowest and best bid. Now, at this point, as far as grant dollars, we have $25,000 from the T-set, and then did you say there was a Lions Club?
So $25,000 T-set, the Muslim Family Affiliated Fund matched that, so another 25, and then we use that 50 to go after a matching grant with the Lions International Foundation.
Okay.
And so
Now,
100,000 is committed.
if in fact you, of course, if in fact you put this bid out, on your next meeting, you'll be able to make an award, okay? If we have that grant at that time, fine. If we don't have that grant, they're gonna want a purchase order issue, which means you're gonna have to come up with a balance and hope that, additional dollars, come in and can cover that deal. But we've got to do an ad, and in this item, number 13, you're approving the ad. And so that's how we have it set up.
Bryce, can you use the funds from a T-set grant to be matching funds for another grant?
That wasn't a match.
You just said you're gonna use the 50,000 to match the Lions Club
No,
grant.
that was the original portion set aside that Dixie helped secure. And then
What was?
the $25,000 T-set grant that was applied for. And then the
Oh,
Muslim Family Affiliated Fund gave $25,000.
That's 50,000.
Yes.
And you
Yeah,
said you would take that money and go
We
apply.
already did, we've just committed that as our 50 that we have towards the project for,
But you
to
just
apply
said,
towards a
but
matching
you
grant.
just said to use that as apply it towards a matching funds grant, which is.
Well, that's how, the Lions International grant is a matching grant, so altogether, I guess, yes, they're both matching each other.
So they basically declared that they had 50,000
Yeah.
to go towards the project.
Yeah, but that's, the Lions Club grant is a little different than a grant that a government grant of some kind.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, I wouldn't anticipate any problem doing
okay.
that. Yeah. So we'll take up this item when we get to item 13, and thanks for
So
making.
just to have the ad.
Huh?
So just to have the ad, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, what we're gonna do is approve the ad, put it in the paper immediately, and receive bids like the next week, and approve it on,
29th.
and approve it on the 1st?
Yes.
You approve it on the 1st.
Okay.
Is that outside
Is there
the-
a problem if no bids come in? I mean, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
Well, I imagine that Craftsman bid will come in.
Well, it will, but I'm just saying, like, do you have to have two? I mean,
No.
do we need to have other, okay.
No, I mean,
Okay.
we're gonna publish
long as
we're
you
gonna publish a
advertise.
notice. I mean, that's, you can't guarantee that there'll be multiple bidders.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted to know.
Yeah.
Any questions about the project or funding, design, anything so far?
I just think it's nice that you're saying that it's all inclusive and ADA compliant. So
Yeah.
sometimes there's a lot of people in the community that are kind of pushed out of activities because they don't have those opportunities.
It was
So
super
it's-
important to us. There's one that they just launched in Stillwater, and I mean, just the launch of the splash pad here, there was a little boy that was playing after it opened. I mean, he's, walker bound, and like,
Right.
that's exactly what we need. We don't have anything in this county
Mhm.
for children of those needs, but it will also have, we have children with hearing or sight disabilities, so it'll have features for them
Okay.
as well, so
Oh, wow.
mobility and as well. But,
Nice, that's cool.
yep.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any more comments? Okay, Item 5, proclamation accommodation reports inquired by the governing body. Hearing none, item 6, the city manager's report and monthly project update.
Thank you, sir. Some of our streets have been looking a little ragged lately, mainly because our street sweeper has been down for the last 2 weeks. Waiting on parts. Parts have now come in, so within the next couple of days, to be up and running and, working on cleaning up the streets again, so that'll be good. Tomorrow's gonna be just a little hot, as some of you realize. And in that regard, we're going to reduce the hours of the pool tomorrow. We're going to, instead of closing at 6, we'll close at 3. So they'll be open from 12:30 till 3. Chief Brand, would you come and provide us some comments on the Hitchcock fire and your department's response to that?
Sure. So Larry asked me to just kind of discuss the events that took place last Friday. The State Office of Emergency Management contacted the Noble County Emergency Manager, Jim Smith, and requested a task force respond from Noble County. And so Jim worked diligently to have that task force assembled within about an hour's time frame. They left right at 1 p.m. Friday, and they were back about 2 o'clock in the morning. And then this morning, last night, they had requested a task force again from Noble County, so they had a group that left about 5 a.m. this morning. They're still out there right now, and I don't really have any updates.
Is that out west? Where's that at?
It is, yeah, it's kind of southwest of Okeen.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just talked to Jim Smith earlier. There's no indication of when they're going to release their task force from Noble County, so they left at 5, got there a little before 7 a.m. and hit the fire line. And those task force groups, they essentially have a person who's like a task force leader. In this situation, that's going to be our Noble County Emergency Manager, and he communicates directly with the incident commander of that scene out there. One of the things that we felt like was really important last Friday, and I just wanted to emphasize that this evening, is the Paramedic Program that we started here a year and a half ago. Although we didn't have a transport unit available, like an ambulance, to be able to respond with that task force, that was the primary concern due to the heat. The territory out there is unknown. We don't know what that terrain is like. There's no one from here that's ever been there. And so obviously they're there well into the nighttime. So things get exceptionally dangerous in a fire and terrain that you've never seen before. So we felt it was really important to have, at least paramedic ALS service available. And so with the Ford Expedition that was purchased in conjunction with Ponca Tribe, that unit, along with our paramedic, one of our paramedics, Sarah, responded in a group with that task force. Once they arrived on scene out there, it was found that there were apparently no other EMS providers in the whole area. So out of all of those individuals and fire departments that were fighting this fire and in this unified front, she was the only EMS provider out there. So we went through a lot more supplies than anticipated. She did a tremendous job. Jim said they've had several people ask today where that truck's at again, just because she did a really good job. She set up just an EMS station for rehabilitating some of the firefighters that got overheated. It's hard to say that the efforts that she gave didn't mean a lot to someone, We're about to celebrate the 11th anniversary of one that we lost here, in those same kinds of conditions. So it's just something that's in the back of everyone's mind there. It's in the back of, just in the ambient temperatures above everything else. So anyhow, I just wanted to say thank you again for allowing us to start that program. I think it's been incredible for this community. But now we got to share it with another community, and I know it's much appreciated and it was well needed out there. So I just wanted to say again, thanks for that.
It would seem like to me that the state, whoever it is that's directing that, would have enough sense to know that they needed some kind of medical personnel on scene there. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's just whatever the request is. We are keeping track of, the mileage we put on vehicles, any wear and tear, anything supplies we go through in the event that there is what they consider an FMAG fire management assistant grant. We can, apply for 75% of that reimbursement for anything that we use out there. So we'll see what happens. But,
Thank you, Russell.
all right, thanks.
Thank you, sir. That's it.
Any questions for Larry?
He said he'd be short, just so you know, before this next one.
Okay.
Nobody took me up on it.
Item 7, Chief Financial Officer's report.
So he didn't recognize me for a specific amount of time, so you get to talk forever. Actually, guys, I will try to make this real quick. There's just a handful.
You only got 3 sticky notes. It shouldn't take long.
Look at those sticky notes. This first one's about 15 minutes. That one I can probably do in 25. No, just kidding. 3 or 4 big things I want to hit here. You don't have financials in your packet tonight. We have run into a little problem with Cassell. Supposedly this afternoon about 4:30 they got it fixed. We haven't validated it enough that I was even comfortable bringing you all numbers at this point. They are year-end numbers, so that makes it even worse because everybody always holds us to those numbers like glue, and so I want to make sure that we get those together. We hopefully will have those for you next meeting. Meredith will take care of presenting that. Number 1 on my list, power cost adjustment. The fuel rate adjustment that you are going to see with your electric portion of the bill will be one of the highest that we've seen in the last 5 years, except for the 1 week that we had in February with that cold weather. The real piece is due to, number 1, the heat, number 2, the amount of contractual natural gas that OMPA had purchased versus what the expected usage was going to be, and number 3, the open market rate of natural gas purchases to generate electricity. As you can imagine, with all the high prices, didn't have enough under contract, and whenever that all plays out, with this warm weather earlier than expected, everything just has come together, and it'll be our PCA portion of the bill, which amounts to about 1.5 cents per kilowatt hour. In a normal person, you're going to see a $4 increase in your bill, but it is a significant number whenever you look at it, at the bottom line of your bill. People are used to see that number at 0 or negative or really small. It is going to be bigger this month. That number will continue to be high based on OMPA's information to us at this point. Will continue to be high probably through September's bill. So we'll have July's, August, and September's bill all at this higher rate. I just want it to be out there. Not only is it going to be higher just because consumption is higher. I mean, everybody's using more electricity right now. That's why you're seeing the flickers. That's why some of that stuff's going on. It's just a power demand issue, but that is out there. Number 2 that I was going to hit is just the inflationary number that we're talking about. I know you guys saw on the news last week 9.2 for the nation. Our South region, rural South region, which is Class B and C, was 9.8 for the year. You add that number. If you went to Houston proper, it was 10.2 inside the Houston city limits. So just to give you an idea of what things are going up. Guys, here's the scary part about inflation that we're not talking about that I think really needs to be pushed. The way inflation is calculated is what my cost today is over 1 year ago. Okay, so we talk about what that change is. X to Y, 9.8%. I'll let our math professor take care of explaining all of the derivative answers that get us there and how you derive this, but I'm going to try to make it in rough, simple terms. What is scarier is whenever you start looking at what our 2-year inflationary rate is, meaning today, July of 2022 versus July of 2020. Okay, 2020 was in COVID, we were kind of in the middle, so we look at that period. I'm going to start by telling you that the highest 2-year rate, going back to 1996, as far as the current tables carry us, the highest 2-year rate in any one month was 8.6%. That only happened for 3 months during 2008. From 1996, 2008 was an 8.6% increase. Our number today is 16.5% for a 2-year increase. That 16.5% growing just at the lowest rate in the last periods will be 17.5 by December, and on a little more projectable number could be as high as 20% by the time we get in this 2-year over. Okay, so someplace between 17 and 20% is what we're going to be looking at for inflationary numbers. That's the scarier part of what we're talking about. We're used to having +1s and +2, a 1% underneath and 1% on the other side. We get a 7 in the middle, and that happens. We've never taken the fall back. down to these 1%, which still a 10% increase is going to be drastic, but whenever I'm telling you it's going to be even higher than that. That's the concern. Hopefully gas prices leveling out, those numbers coming more in line, we will be in a little better shape. But that is what I'm advising you all as our councils about, and everywhere I go. We do have this issue coming up, and we may have to look at some more or some additional adjustments that we're doing, whether it be some more cost-cutting measures or some more potential utility rate increases come mid-year if those numbers continue to hold. Because while we build in a 10% number, we in no way build in multiple 10% numbers, coming year over year. So we'll see what happens. Let's hope that changes. The Fed is meeting this month, which drops me into number 3 on my list. Fed's meeting this month related to interest rate. We should see at least about 3/4 of a point, if not a full 100 basis points coming up on our rate. Why do I bring that up? That comes up in relation to talking about our investments and our investment strategies. Right now, we're placing CDs at the bank and earning 0.5 percentage point. Based on the current investment policy, that is what is required. We have to keep it within these city limits, with these banks, without bringing back to you all for acknowledgement an investment outside. In doing that, it limits our ability to go out and place the money in CDARS or ICS sweeps, both just 2 banking products that effectively take our money, put it out on the secondary market, and potentially get us a little more interest. One of the reasons we can get a little more interest is because we're not tying up the assets of the bank. The bank has to pledge collateral to us at 110% of whatever our secured balance is. Well, that takes away from their lending capacity. That takes away from what they can do on the backside of their banking. I'm not going to tell them how to run their banks, but I'm just telling you, it cuts down potentially on some of our interest. If we can keep our interest under our investments under $250,000 a pop, FDIC covers 100% of that, and so they don't have to pledge collateral to us. We look at CDARS, we look at ICS sweeps as 2 banking products that can give us that piece. I'm coming to you all more. Is this something that you want me to continue to talk about? I was up the road last week talking with them about the same thing. I told you we're getting about 0.5 point staying in our local banks and bidding those out. And Christy does a great job of it. I mean, every time one comes due, we bid it out. On a daily overnight ICS sweep right now, getting about 0.6%, so 0.6%. On a 4-week CD, getting about 0.9. On a 90-day CD, we can get about 1.4%. So I can almost triple our interest by just changing some of our investment philosophies. I throw that out only because interest hasn't been a big issue for us the last 3 or 4 years. The difference between 0 or 0.1% that they were paying us and the 0.25% that we could have got anywhere in the market is not there. If the Fed changes rates, overnight borrowing rates can go up, our potential CD interest rates will go up, and now we're starting to talk real money. So I'm going to throw that out. You guys think about it. It'll have to come back as a council item, but because I can't move money outside of Perry banks without your all's permission. That's what our investment policy says. So I'm planting that idea and that thought. We're looking at a difference of $60,000 to $100,000 a year in interest income based on how we place those investments. That's the sizable number that I'm really worried about. That number in these kind of times.
How much money can we place in a 90-day CD and be safe with your money?
Can we place them and be safe? We've got about $3.5 million that I would look at. It's staggered. Right now, we have almost a CD coming due every month. What I would want to do is change that over, and instead of renewing for year-long CDs, we're going to go to staggering those into 90-day CDs. You see what I'm saying? And put that more on a plan that as interest continues to go, as the Fed continues to mark interest rates up, until we get to this stabilization point or at least a deflationary point, we will probably not be going back with year-long CDs no matter what. will be going into a shorter term CD so we can start to capture portions of that income. So all portfolio management, heck, my game plan, I'm gonna get with the bank and see exactly how they want to do it, what they want to do. But before I can even do that, I need your all's permission, to look at it. You can't take an action on it tonight, but if I don't tell you about it and I don't explain it, then next time you guys are gonna go, what are you talking about? How can I do this? So in a nutshell, trying to maximize our interest earnings is what I'm trying to do. Still inside of FDIC insured institutions and or additional collateral pledges from those institutions. Exactly what we're doing. It's just gonna expand our footprint a little bit to make it happen. And honestly, the banks are usually happy to get some of that out because they can say, hey, that decreases my collateral pledge to you. And so they're happier. Not here, but I will tell you in other communities, I've actually had some of the smaller banks coming to us saying, listen, you got $750,000 in CDs coming due and at our bank, we would prefer that you move those whenever they come due because we're gonna pay you the lowest interest rate we can, just because of our collateral numbers. And so that's where the problem lies. But we will talk to the banks and see what we can do and what we can keep local. But if needed, I'm going to need your all's permission to move some of those investment dollars. Okay. Sales tax, just a couple of little things to finish that out. Sales tax was another good month for us. July sales tax was up almost 25% over last July's sales tax. In running through it, there are some construction-related projects that are generating additional sales tax for our community. When equipment is bought within the state, delivered here, and arrives, we get a bonus for that. Likewise, there was an increase in use tax. It was almost up 25%. Again, construction-related. It's one of those things. It's nice to have it this year. Don't expect that it's going to be there next year unless we can continue the construction pieces and continue those coming in. But it is good to have, and that's the encouraging sign to start out our 2023 fiscal year with a good sales tax deposit. So that's what I have for you. I had a whole laundry list if I was going to get my full hour to talk to you, but since I don't get that, I will cut it short and talk about something else. Thank you, Pam. Was that short?
Yeah, you did good.
Any questions, guys?
Thank you, Russ. Item 8, consider approval of resolution number 2022-10 of the City Council of the City of Perry, Oklahoma, authorizing and approving the trust indenture creating Perry Economic Development Authority, hereinafter referred to as the Authority, dated the 18th day of July 2022, and acceptance of the beneficial interest created by such trust indenture, authorize the mayor and the city clerk to effect their signatures to the appropriate documents. Mr. Attorney, it's a nice shirt you got on tonight.
Thank you. Colorful. But we're not asking you to approve this resolution tonight. I wanted to show you this and talk to you a little bit about it. The first thing is that the agenda is wrong. We're calling this the Perry Facilities Authority. Had economic development on the agenda, but it's actually Facilities Authority. In order to do the hospital agreement, we're going to have an entity which is capable of being a borrower. And probably don't want to use the Perry Municipal Authority. It probably doesn't have a hospital purpose in it. This authority does. Probably don't want to use the Perry Memorial Hospital Authority because that's not you. I mean, I know some of you are on it, but it's not all of you. And then, it's been around for a long time and has some hanger-on deals that I'm not interested in getting involved in. So what I've done is I've created a new public trust authority. It's got the broadest economic development powers that are really out there. It would be the borrower, as you know, in that transaction, the hospital remodel will probably cost $8 million. We may have a match for our sales tax contribution, if in fact the public approved the sales tax on August 23rd. We may have a match for that, and that may be something that we can put together rather easily. So take this home, take a look at it. We're going to bring it back out probably before we approve and get it set up, probably before we approve the hospital agreement. But it's just another vehicle. You know, businesses have LLCs and Incs and subsidiaries and the like. This is a co-equal entity to the city that has the power to borrow. You know, we have created two other authorities. Back in the last century, we created the Perry Economic Development Authority, PETA, and that kind of, we wouldn't want to use that. I'm not going to get into that, but we wouldn't. And we also created the Perry Housing Authority, which wouldn't have a broad enough power of a hospital. So this is a new trust authority. I want you to take a look at that. And when we get closer to the issuance of the debt and the approval of the hospital agreement, I'll bring that back up. Any questions?
Well, could this be used for multiple uses or just
Oh,
for
yes.
the hospital?
Oh, no, this could be
Multiple
used,
uses.
This could be used for multiple uses, for leasing purpose. We could transfer property into it. We could buy property. You know, perhaps there was property that may have an environmental issue or something, and we didn't want the city to necessarily own that. You know, you could have this entity own that. There's lots of reasons why, but I don't want to use the Perry Municipal Authority. That's our utility engine.
Correct.
And this is just another entity that we could use that would assist us in achieving our public purposes.
So you just want to table this until future?
Yeah, I would just table it. We'll bring it back. But I wanted to show you what we're thinking about. And that will be probably also mentioned back in one of the items on executive session.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good, a motion to table this for future.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
White,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dilbeck,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Koldar.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Thank you. Item 9, consider approval of ordinance number 2022-16, the City Council of the City of Perry, Oklahoma, amending Chapter 12, Section 12-262, entitled Use Permitted by Review in the RG Residential District, amending Chapter 12, Section 12-272, entitled Uses Permitted by Review in R1 Residential District, providing for the new Section 12-285, entitled Lot Combination Use by Review, Application Procedure and Effects, providing for an owner of one or more adjoining residential lots or parcels may, through the use by review procedure, combine such lots or parcels for the purpose of complying with the area, heights and sites and designs and/or subdivision requirements of the Perry Municipal Code, providing for appeal or savings, codification, severability, penalty, and declaring an emergency.
From time to time, we get requests from Perry residents that would like to build a shop right next to their home on an adjoining piece of property, residential property. And one of our rules, and it's a general rule of zoning, it's not just Perry's rules, quite frankly, everybody's rule that has zoning, is that any accessory structure like that, a garage, has to be accessory to the main use on that lot. So there has to be a house on that lot in order to have an accessory structure on that lot. Now the reason for that is that if you place accessory structures as kind of the main and only structure on a residential lot, when the owner leaves or dies, if that lot isn't tied to the lot with a home on it, well, it can be sold to a third party. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to go with the home. It can go to the highest bidder, like everyone sells things, whoever buys it. And if it doesn't go to the guy with the home, it's likely to turn into or potentially could turn into a commercial use. And that's the reason there's the rule, that you have to have a main residential structure on every lot, because we're trying to prevent these accessory structures from being commercial uses. Well, we've dealt with this for a long time, and recently there's been some attention paid to it, saying, well, how could we make it so that those two lots become one? Well, an easy way to do it is to do, if it's in a subdivision, do an amendment to the subdivision, actually amend the plat and make two lots into one. You can do that. And you got to hire an engineer and surveyor. It costs you about $2,500 or maybe more nowadays, which is a whole lot for people to pay. So could there be another way that we do that? And that's why we came up with this ordinance. And what it provides is if you own the lot next to yours, and by the way, we did a little amendment, Larry recommended, and I agreed with it, but we have limited it to two lots. So you have a little amendment here, very small changes. There's a change in the title and a change in the body of it, where, I mean, it's limited to two lots. You can't do it with three lots, but
So your lot plus two, or your lot?
no, your lot plus one. You can do it with your neighboring lot. So, what you would do, if this gets passed, if this gets approved, then a property owner could file a use by review application before the planning commission. It would ultimately come here and they tell you what they want to do. We bought this lot, we want to build this accessory structure on that lot, and we will agree to a lot combination agreement. We will agree under the ordinance, and we will sign, and we will declare, and we will file a record on that property that we will not mortgage that second lot separate from our other lot, and we sell it, we're selling together. Now, it's not foolproof. It's not as good as platting them, into one lot. But it is a technique. It's a land use technique, which as best as possible, and that's, all we can shoot for, as good as we can get it, that commercial, type of use, that the two pieces of property would stay together. And it allows us to enforce it. I mean, we can enforce it. But they'd have to come to the planning commission and come to you and set it out. And neighbors would be, it's use by review. It's all the procedure there. So it costs a little bit of money, not $2,500, $100 application and a little bit of cost. But they could actually get this. We think this will assist in building, additional building. We think people will avail themselves of that. If you approve it this way, it's effective both in RG and R1. But neighbors can come in because they will be noticed, and they may have an interest in what's going on, and it's going to be the council's decision if in that particular place in that time whether this should be accommodated. Now, we didn't have to do the use by review. We could have just made it by right. But I do things conservative, and so if you want to change them, then you can change them and just say you want to do it by right. I try to, make it, think about notice, opportunity to be heard, public come in, at least know what's going on next door and the like. So that's what we've got. If this passes, you'll be able to combine lots in all residential districts. You'll have to go by use by review. There was one gentleman very interested in that. Did he come to the planning commission meeting?
Not the last one, no.
Okay.
It was not there.
Because he's going to be one of the first ones to apply. He met with me about this issue. It was it wasn't really the driver of this because we were looking at it anyways. This is a similar procedure to the one that they had in Skytook or Manford or something, and we found that a lot of people had something like this, but this was probably the tightest way that we could ensure that residential lots don't become commercial. Now, the other way we talked about doing it is allowing it by right in RG, but not by right in R1, which was another way to do it. But we really talked about it. We said, let's just start, doing it in both districts, see how it goes. We can always amend it. And the Planning Commission did approve this at their meeting. They didn't know about the limiting it to 2 lots, but you can make an amendment, if you...
What's the reason for limiting to 2 lots?
Well, Larry, you're the one that recommended that. You don't want it to go...
Well, let's take Fairway, for instance. To the west side of the Johnson's house, there are lots there. So it's possible, under the way it was written, for one person to come in, buy all 4 lots or more, and put one house in the middle. That affects density, and it doesn't really match everything else in that subdivision. That's the biggest reason.
I do want to add one other thing. When we talk about that lot that's empty, that's going to bear the house, you still have to comply with the area requirements. So, but you're just using the house next door as the house. So for instance, you can't build your building flush with that house, right? You have to put it behind that house so that, if sometime in the future somebody might want to put a residence on that house, right? So it's not just bingo, all the rules go out.
But you can't really do that if you just said that it's going to be sold together. So now we're putting 2 houses on one property?
No. Well, at that point, there are escape clauses under the ordinance, and that would be one of the ones. If it contains the house, then you wouldn't be bound. We would file a release, and it wouldn't be bound. But that was one of the things that I think the Planning Commission was interested in. And when we did it, you still have to follow the area requirements. Okay, you don't want the metal building, house, metal building right there. You want that set back, so there will be, at least on the way we have it, you still have to follow the design requirements under the ordinances. And you would just use this house is the one to do it. That's how it's set up. And I forgot to tell you that, but that's how it's set up currently.
And did you say that vacant lot could not be used for a business or?
Well, it can't be under the rules. What this hopes to guarantee is that when that house is sold, the lot gets sold with it, because that's what the owner is promising. And they're promising that as a filed document with the city having the power to enforce it.
I just heard that there was someone looking for housing now that had joining lots to put a business in, and they had looked at one house, but they didn't think the property was big enough for this business. So, I didn't know.
We do allow home-based businesses under home occupation in residential districts, but with zoning, we want to ensure that the residential districts other than home occupations are reserved for residential living rather than a commercial business. But this should promote building and more development, and we've got folks that are interested, and of course, in the end, it's going to be the permit that's issued by code that that gets this done. But I did want to point out that we made this, by a use by review process. And, I thought that was a place to start. If we find that might be too rigorous of notice and it might be better a different way, we can do that. Or you can direct me to bring it back to you, another way, if you want, like that RG permitted, R1, R1, permitted by right, R1, use by review. Probably giving you too many possibilities, but that's what I like to do, This is a topic that we have dealt with and tried to work on and work out, and, this is the best solution that I've been able to come up with Brian, Henry, and the Planning Commission's assistance, so.
I'll make sure I understand completely when you're talking about, I don't remember the exact term you use, but offsets.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got two lots, and then an adjoining lot would be your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the offset's there, but did you also, so say your lot's deep, providing this opportunity in this, because I'll throw another scenario, but you're saying that the accessory building, even though it's not accessory anymore, would have to be offset way in the back of the lot?
Well, not
Is that what you
necessarily
mean?
back in the lot, but behind the house. Behind that line.
Kind of like if it was your home, the house is
Like
there.
if that house sat on that lot, it doesn't, it sits on the lot next door, but if it's set on that lot, it's gonna have to be behind that house on that lot so that we don't have.
Is that the way it exists in the ordinance today? Because I don't recall that, and I also know of instances.
Well, because you're not allowed to put
Well, on a second-
accessory structures on any residential lots without the residential
recalling
structure
places that it may be on the same lot, but there's buildings that are flush with the
There's
front of
one
the home.
right here.
there. And I don't know, how those got, I don't know how they got permitted. This is something that.
So another scenario that you mentioned is the exit clause, or I think is what you call it, was that?
Yeah.
And they do put a living quarters inside the accessory, the second lot, and it now becomes the main, and then now you have this offset back building compared to the rest of the homes as well. Does that make sense?
No, I don't think I
So
follow.
if
You mean
if they follow the rules, like if I'm understanding what you're saying,
Sure.
if they follow that and they build their house on lot one, let's say, and it's at the normal distance from the road. So then they offset their building to be their metal building, whatever it is, to be behind the house on lot two.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come back later and they decide, we want to use the exit clause.
Mm-hmm.
We want to add living quarters in this metal building we built and sell the home, and effectively splitting the lots back up.
Mm-hmm.
Then you end up with a home that's set back from the other homes, is what
Yeah, that is, but you can build a barn dominium right now. Any building, any structure that has a bathroom, a sink, a kitchen, a bedroom, I think those are the requirements, in something that looks like a barn, as long as it's, constructed correctly. It kind of looks like that. That's a permissible home. That really wouldn't even come under this. Now, if they decided to do it later, you're absolutely right. That might be an issue. But if they do it in the front end, then they don't need to do a lot combination because they can do that right now.
But in the current way I understand the codes now, I've been having to deal with some of this. The way it's currently set up, you have 25-foot setback on the front.
That's correct.
10-foot setback on the rear. So someone could actually do what you're talking about now. If they own a lot and they could build that house back as far as they wanted to, well, as long as they're 10 foot off.
Yeah, they could.
They don't, I mean,
Yeah, I'm
because
just-
everybody wants a backyard.
Along the
but
lines with what Larry was saying, if we're trying to make things,
Look the same.
yeah,
Right.
look similar, I mean,
Right.
not to say they're cookie cutters.
Yeah,
because
they're
they
all
wouldn't be in
minimum-
this case, right?
Right, right.
But to not just have houses at different distances, I think would be more aesthetically pleasing.
Agreed.
But,
Everybody does it, but there's not, there's not a rule. I mean, you can build, it's a minimum
Up 25
distance.
foot. Right.
Now, you may have a covenant in a community that says that, the front of the house shall not extend beyond the major line. I've seen that in many covenants, but I don't know of a rule in any code, in our code, or really any code that I work with that says that, well, you know what, I think Okarchi has one. I think they do have one that talks about in their code that you need to build your house in line with the other homes in the, in the block. The thought here was, and quite frankly, it was an afterthought, and I guess it was originally raised by Jim Franklin on the Planning Commission in a conversation. He was the one that discussed this placement, and there was nothing. It still has to follow the rules. The lots are now combined. Okay, nothing else changed, they're just combined. You can build it there, now follow the rules. And the rules are that it needs to be behind the house, and because that's where
and that
accessory
is the rule
structures are.
today, right?
Yeah, you can't build an I'd have to find it, but you can't build an accessory structure in your front yard.
So I would almost, playing devil's advocate here,
Yeah.
I would almost think that allowing it to be flush with the front of the home would give us another avenue to say those lots have to stay together. Because you can't split them up unless there's living quarters in them. You can't split it up because it's at that same.
If we want that, and that's, we need to make
That's kinda where I
a
was-
determination here. I would ask that we take another shot at, because I don't want to just draft this here.
Mhm.
I want to think about it, and we can do that. But even this one wasn't presented today to get you to quickly, approve it. This is this is a major.
This has been a pretty touchy subject.
Yeah, and this is a major.
Let me talk just a minute, please.
Yeah, sure.
I've had several people come to me recently, and Bryce keeps saying, giving me some kind of explanation for it, and I disagree. Okay, we got people that want to go into our community and buy a lot and put up a shop building that's not attached to where they live. We've got lots all over this town that are vacant lots, grow up in weeds, no one's ever going to do anything with them. And I can see if we could allow it in RG. Bryce keeps saying, well, then you'll have a commercial business there. We can limit that. There's no way
It has to be
that.
zoned to do that.
Exactly. I mean, we control that.
Right, that was something I was fixing to bring.
So I don't get that, okay? I've never got it. I disagree with it. I have a friend of mine that lives out here south and west down here, and he called me. It's been a couple of years ago, and he lived on the corner lot across the street from his house. Is this crappy old house, and then south of that is a grown up weeded thing and he wanted to buy that vacant lot. Can't do it because he can't put a building on that. If he buys that, puts a building on it, it's going to be mowed, manicured, taken care of. He just wanted a shop building. Well, Scott's organization ended up buying that lot, and they're building houses out there now. But we control what goes in here, okay? And what you're talking about, Bryce, is I own a house, there's a vacant lot next door to me. I'm not gonna buy that lot on hopes that the city council is going to put a building up there.
Oh, no, you would enter into a contract, and it would be a conditional contract based on,
Okay.
whether this.
On the
would be-
approval, because
Yeah, always.
Yeah, because,
No, that's what.
I mean, I'm not gonna buy a lot and go, well, I hope they do
That's
it.
if they've done their homework and understand, and they haven't just bought the
They don't do
lottery.
that.
Yeah.
Well, if they haven't.
Which is
then they
part
might-
of what we keep talking about in trying to make things not so gray and stuff like that, so that anybody trying to do things understands before they act, I guess is.
Yeah.
Think, you talked about Fairway, but they have their own set of covenants already.
No, there's
Do
no
they not?
homeowners association to enforce it.
Correct.
Well,
They
there's no
do have
HOA, but
covenants,
they
but
do have
there's no
covenants.
HOA to enforce it.
But as long as they all get together,
They have to form an HOA.
Covenants will do you any good unless you have an HOA to enforce it.
the other thing was exactly what you brought up, which I don't see how we're risking leaving that there and having a commercial business when we have to zone that for that to happen.
Bryce, explain it, because I know you explained it to me 100 times, and I just,
Well, I mean, you know, this isn't a rule for Perry, this is a rule everywhere. I mean, that accessory structures have to be accessory to the main residential use, because that's what keeps it a residence. A building, a shop building, you know, I'm gonna put my RV in it, I'm gonna put my boat in it. If you really think that that's the way it's gonna stay, you know, I mean, there's gonna be small engine repair go in there. I mean, the building's gonna last 40 years, right? I mean,
but that's
if it's
a
built right.
use by review, we don't allow it, so you can't do that there.
There are a lot of people that won't move into town anymore because we're too exclusive with everything.
I'm just asking, I'm not fighting with you.
No,
You're saying that we can't limit the use.
No, that would be Houston. I mean, that's what's permitted in Houston. Not a lot of rules, and you know, you can.
We're not Houston, man.
Well, I know. I mean, do you want a shop building? Some Joe from Lucene. Okay, I know where you live. You live in a nice area. You want Joe from Lucene.
I said
to
RG,
build,
RG.
to build a pole barn. Yeah, but you don't want it next to you, right?
Well, there's no.
Oh, no, I mean a big pole barn with an 18 foot, just a giant pole barn in the lot, in the vacant lot next to you, and then there's the next really nice house. No, I mean, now, in RG.
But we allow things in RG and R1 and R2, they're all
Well,
different.
there's RG and R1. Yeah, and you could. I mean, you could, we have discussed that in RG, you would state that the rule on accessory buildings, you know, you would make an exception that says, except in RG. I mean, would you want a process there? I mean, what we're trying to do here is tie a home
No, I agree.
with
I understand
a
what you're
shop
trying to do.
building. If you get the shop building free and clear of a home, I mean, are they not gonna be working on their Harleys?
Okay, so
I
what
mean,
what if I have a home and I build it, and this happened at my church.
Sure.
We bought a lot across from our church, had a home on it. So we built a garage over there, put our church van in, put our lawnmowers and stuff in, tore the house down. You got a shop building now. Legally, when they built it, there was a house there. Tore the house down, and we got a vacant lot with a shop on it. You can do that anywhere in town, right now.
And it never was rezoned?
Why would it be rezoned?
I'm just asking,
Oh, I
because
don't-
it's a parking lot now, right?
Well, it didn't need to be rezoned.
No, I just.
It had a home on it, and it had put up a shop building.
So if they
And
have-
church, I think churches are exempt from that anyway, right?
I don't know.
I think.
I mean, I don't know. I know that
But anyway,
you
it
in
was
a
just-
church,
as
I
a-
know
it was
you
a
in a
for-
church can have,
It was a for instance.
you can have parking lots, and if you wanted to, you know, you wanted to put a parking structure there, I mean, you could have a parking structure.
I'm just giving for instance. I mean, anyone here owns a home. We could build a shop next to our home. Say we had an older home, we went buy a new one, and thought, well, we'll keep that, but I'm just gonna tear the home down.
I mean, you folks can have, this is your town. You just have to tell me what you want, and we'll make it so. It's just, you know, the question is, what will the net effect be, everybody wants things not in their backyard, okay? And they also want notice and opportunity to be heard. You know, I mean, that's what they want. That's what we've done here. You know, do you take this and do you take it a step further and say that in RG, you know, with a use by review, that the rule of having to combine a lot?
And we still have to notify the neighbors, right?
Well, I mean, you know, you can do it. You can do whatever you want to do. You just have to think what that process is going to look like. And it is different. I mean, the RG is the older section of town. The R1 is bigger homes and more like estates. But you know, there's some really nice homes in RG where, you know, retired folks live and would, you know, like to maintain the peace and quiet of a non.
But if someone come and complained about it, we just wouldn't authorize it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but you know, the zoning is to try to prevent, you know, prevent that. But you guys can have this. I can draft it however you want. And of course, there's people that would want to, and there's always people that want to place structures on improperly zoned property for personal use. I mean, that's why commercial property is valuable and it's more scarce. And I mean, you know, that's the reason. I will tell you, I'll tell you this, that older sections of the community which have old residential structures on them, okay? What's happened here is very unusual, that new development has come in and done infill. I mean, that's very unusual in rural Oklahoma, and it's fantastic. And that is without the expenditure of major public dollars, you know, to build walls and to kind of segregate. I mean, we've had new homes come in and infill, but the rule in Oklahoma, rural Oklahoma, is generally once the housing in an area becomes depreciated, and I mean 80, 90, 100 years old, that property normally goes to a commercial use. I mean, that's where it normally ends up. And this, you know, infill, building those homes really occurs rarely. So, you know, part of what you're saying is absolutely correct. I mean, you're talking about RG, you're talking about areas which have depreciated housing that isn't being taken care of, and that is often a natural place for commercial uses to come in. That's normally done with rezoning.
I just don't see why would a commercial use come into the middle of a residential old part of town?
Because they have a building there and they know how to work on a lawnmower and they start working on lawnmowers.
Because they want, because
I'm not picking on
because they want a shop building in the residential part.
So David Payne lawn and power thing up there.
And that, I wasn't even thinking of David that whole, but I'm sure that was commercial already before he.
Well, it's a shop building in a residential neighborhood, you know? But I'm just still saying we control that.
Yeah, you control it by zoning and you control it by rules. And to draft it, you have to, you know, if you wanted to do that, you need to be sure with the public, because, you know, once it starts, and once the...
I know of a building here in town right now that sits on a vacant lot. The guy just got it and tore the house down, sold a lot. He got buildings, stored some of his equipment in there.
I also know of one that the house got tore down before the people that put the building on it bought it, and they've put the building on, so the house got tore down, the lot got sold, building got put on it, and then lot with the building got sold.
I know that lot too. There was one just a couple of years ago right down the street here, like 2 or 3 blocks got put up. I mean, and it sits flush with the houses, flush right across the street from Christie. And nobody knows. One day all of a sudden, there's a building up. Nobody knew about it.
So on the location, just because the way that I've heard this explained, I'm still not completely clear on it. So you're saying the shop has to be directly behind the house?
Well, I'm saying,
Or if you have the lot next door, it just can't be flush with it, it has to be offset on the
Yeah.
next door lot?
I'm saying that you use that house for the neighboring house for all setbacks, all normal setbacks. All that's occurred is those two lots became one, and you use all normal setbacks with that house, that next door house, as the marker. Now, if you want something other than that, we have to do something other than that with the ordinance.
The reason I keep thinking about that is most of the houses in this town, they're like, here's the house and now you got an alley. You don't have a lot of room for setbacks. And so it's still gonna be really exclusive because you're only gonna have a few people that have the land that goes back far enough for that to matter. So it sounds like a good deal and you're gonna be able to tell people, oh yeah, you can do this, until they apply and find out, oh, well, I can't do that. And most houses in this town are like that.
Well, I don't have any problem with you making the Derek suggestion and making the ability of the building to be flush with the other buildings. I mean, I don't see that that's an issue. It just would require an amendment.
Since you've been dealing with it, what are your thoughts?
Some of what he's saying is true, although most of our lots are 162 and a half feet deep. You can still get back there. If I was gonna do anything, if you wanted it to set back, I would say that you had to be, the back of the property had to be at that 10 foot and then come forward from there. That would
Right.
keep it towards the back
Right.
there.
And it could still be
Or you could change it by saying if you're gonna put an accessory building here, it has to be 40 foot back instead of 25. So it keeps it back off the front of the houses, because currently it's 25.
Let's say you knew the plan, let's say you were gonna do it, okay?
Okay.
And you knew the plan was, you're building a home, and you're gonna build a shop building, and eventually you wanted to downsize and move into the shop building and sell the home. What would your suggestion be at that point?
If I knew that going forward, I would probably want it up.
And you of course could do that with the variance.
But like I was saying
Because
earlier,
you can vary any setback rule, and that's what you do. You would file use by review with variance. In this case, I want to put my building flush with the rest of the buildings. You would consider it, but all the neighbors would have an opportunity to come and say, and I know that's just procedure, and the general rules,
Is
that
there,
I should be allowed to do on my property what I want,
is there any rule right now that says, that you guys deal with, is there any rule right now that says what the outside of that structure has to look like?
No.
There's a little bit.
Well, there is under site plan. Under site plan,
I
there's.
thought the ordinance had similar,
So if Scott builds a house under
I
site
just
plan.
built the house at 8th and Holly, that's brick, and there's not many brick or.
no, not to the neighboring houses. I
okay.
thought the building had to be similar color or something to that effect of the
I don't
main
think so.
structure.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about shop and house combination. I'm just saying, if Scott builds a house out there on Coffee Drive.
Oh, yeah.
And you put brick on it, whatever, like you are now.
Right.
And then Johnny buys the house, the lot next door, and he wants to put up a barn dominium thing, and he wants to use the same setback. There's no rule saying he can't put a metal-sided building up out there.
No, as long as it meets the proper code, it's gotta meet the code.
Yeah. So there's nothing that says it's gotta be brick like the rest of the house.
Sorry, I
It's
misunderstood. I thought you were
No,
talking
no,
about.
no, I understand. No, I understand.
Unless you have
I thought the
covenants,
same thing.
unless you have covenants.
Yeah.
And you can paint your house purple or pink if you want, I mean.
Not if you want to sell it.
Well, yeah.
We used to have, remember the old cow, they call it cow house here in town? Jay Branson built that one.
But you basically said covenants don't matter earlier unless there's an HOA.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, I said there was covenants in Fairway, and you said, well, without an
No,
HOA.
I didn't say
I said that there's, if there's
No
not an
covenants
HOA,
moving forward.
there's no, the city of Perry does not care. We don't care, do we?
No, covenants are contracts between property owners, okay? I mean, that's,
Right.
that's that's a contract between property owners. It's for them to enforce. The only reason that we would have a reason to enforce it is like out at our commercial park. When we did own lots, okay, we were a party to those covenants and we can enforce those on the other lots.
But without the HOA, there is still somebody.
Who?
Well, normally.
You said between property owners.
Well,
But
yeah.
they have to form an organization.
Right.
Well,
Because
there's
out
not-
of Fairway, you can't just put up a building. It has to match what your
If it
house
says-
is. and
if
they
it says you
No,
can't
it
have-
doesn't, it doesn't. I know a guy put up a metal building out there and it's still standing.
There's people out there that have not been able to.
Why though?
Because it
There's
didn't
no
match
one,
their
there's no
building.
authority. None,
It
Curtis,
didn't
there's
match
no
their
authority.
building. It didn't match their house.
But who is the authority to stop them?
We said property owners.
But they don't have the authority to stop them. There's no homeowners association.
So
They
it's
can
kind
get
of
mad.
wishy-washy.
They can get mad at the kids talking.
Well, I do know of a situation, and again, there was no authority, but there was somebody else trying to put up a metal building, and neighbors around that area got very frustrated. Person ended up moving. Because
Said again, what?
the person ended up moving because of all the trouble, the snake, maybe that's what
Yeah,
it was.
yeah,
There was no snake going on.
they can make it hard on you, but if you want to put up that building, there is no rule anywhere to stop you from doing that.
This situation, the ground had already been leveled and everything, and it got hot enough that they just picked up and sold their house.
I don't know what house it is, but on the way into Fairway on the south side, there's a building there, a metal building in the backyard.
Derek, I think I remember what you're talking about, but there was a letter sent out to all the neighbors saying, do you want them to put a shop up? And they said no.
Yeah.
So they weren't allowed to do that then. I mean, when I first moved to town, I got a letter and I couldn't believe I got it. They wanted to extend their garage and I was like, you're asking me if it's okay? It's their house, let them do it. But yeah, but there was always letters asking neighbors, do you care if they do that? You could say yes or no.
But there was no covenant or no.
Right, and this was years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time
Yeah.
ago, but, yeah.
I remember that.
So this has been a great discussion, by the way. So do we want to give Bryce a directive or what do we want to do, council?
Or do we want to bring this back for a study session, talk about, I mean, this is an issue that, you don't have to approve anything tonight. And if you want something broader, I'm happy to come up with a way to, a way to do it. In this instance, I toyed with RG is by right. You can do it by right under this lot combination ordinance. In R1, it would go through the use by review process. But if you want to talk about an RG, can you put up a shop building? And then what you would do in RG is you would kill the requirement to require it be accessory to a residential use. You could do that, and then you probably wouldn't want to do that by right. You would want that to do that by a use by review and take that on a case-by-case basis. But if the property owners surrounding that property, 300 feet, if they didn't care that they did it, and you're not afraid of any long-term, that's going to turn into a commercial use and be obnoxious.
But we can limit that, right?
We can, yeah, but it's all after the, it's fine, it's bringing people to court. I mean, that's what it is, and that does happen a little bit.
Well, we got code enforcement just drives around town all day looking for stuff.
A little too much.
I mean, it very well may make lots more attractive, and it may create building. I'll tell you, in Winoka, they opened the whole city to utility vehicles and ATVs. And let me tell you.
Well, that's because they got sand dunes there, and we got.
Well, I know, but they didn't have it forever. And they had more deteriorated housing there. I mean, everywhere there was houses. Guess what? There's no more. There's no more lots. When a house goes up for sale, it'll sell for $100,000 more, and these aren't nice houses. And these deteriorated lots, they've been bought and upgraded and different structures, even kind of not tiny houses, but interesting, really interesting houses are being built. And that's all from that rule on being able to ride that. It's made it a mecca. It's a major reinvestment.
If we put a little governance to it, we should open it up, let things happen here. Instead of just tying hands all the time, just tie them up, tie them up.
I'm glad we're looking at it because it's been talked about forever, and I mean, I can't tell you how many people, well, I was gonna buy that lot, but I can't do anything with it.
Well, there was a lady that I talked to last week. Her and her husband was gonna go in East Perry and buy a vacant lot. He has a race car. He wants to go down there and get away from his wife, I think, and go play in his shop. I see it, okay? But the guy that was selling it said, oh, by the way, what are you gonna do with this? We'll build a shop here. Oh, before you buy this, I probably have to tell you the city of Perry's not letting you do that. Jeez.
I think
So they backed out, they didn't have a clue.
We've got some lots that are really, they're just crappy. But it's because people don't have an option to do anything with it. If they're not gonna build a house, it is.
They just own that lot and just.
There's nothing they can do with it.
I mean, I think we need to have some kind of study session, planning session on this subject. I'm not gonna bring it up tonight, but we have a whole other issue that I've been fighting with these two guys about with pole barns. And I just think we need to have a heart-to-heart talk about it.
I've heard people say Perry's getting so many rules and regulations, they just think they'd rather leave town. So when we start talking about things like this, I really want to listen and make sure that it's something that's going to benefit people and not just put a harness on them. Does that make sense?
Yes, and do recognize that this one is an attempt to loosen a rule.
It is.
It's an attempt to
This
loosen.
one is an attempt, and I think we just need to take a broader look at what you're saying and make sure that we encompass everything. I mean, just like that offset thing, there's probably some studying things that we could understand before we make those decisions.
I like it. I like the attempt. I just think it's still too tight.
I'm glad that it came out. I mean, these guys, they've been talking to me about it for a while, and it's great that we have this discussion.
It would seem to me if we were doing it, it may be before the planning commission or not, but, I would open up to a public hearing and let people come and express it. Because, if there's people that really have an interest in building lots and they feel that they've been treated, unfair and they'd like to be heard, it would be nice to hear from those people. We're not trying to stymie development. It's just, the whole reason you have planning is that your development is orderly. And
well, what happened? Let's build a building on the property line and marry the two properties.
That is another way to do it, but in doing that, you do violate your own rule. Your setback.
That scenario I threw out does also go out the window, where if you're today wanting to build a home with an accessory building and eventually move into that, downsize and move, if it's a part of a long-term plan or something, that whole scenario would go out the window.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I would say that your percentages on your people that build buildings that have that intent are probably 10%. And maybe not even that much.
And I would say that,
But it's a gift.
whatever that percent is, it's probably bigger than it used to be.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah. Any further discussion?
Well, let's continue this and allow us to consider it further.
Should we continue, should we table it, or should we actually do some sort of?
Well, go ahead and table it, because I don't know how long it will take, but we will bring it back.
Just table it till the future.
So moved.
I'm not asking for any further discussion. Roll call, please.
White,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dilbeck,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Goldar,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you, Council, great discussion. Item 10, approved payment of $24,150 to Rebuild It Services Group for the installation of the new handrail system for the 2 aeration basins. We received $40,000 grant. We took bids. The bids come in at like 130. And you can remember that Matthew Coe come in and said, I got a guy. It come in, what was it, $24,000 basically. So, well, pay it quickly.
Motion to approve payment.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
White,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dilbeck,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Goldar,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Thank you. Item 11, authorize payment to contractor's application for payment number 2 to the Horseshoe Construction Incorporated for the performance on the citywide sanitary sewer Phase 5 capital improvement project in the amount of $71,748.75.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
White,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dilbeck,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Goldar,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. I think we're gonna skip item 12 and go to 13. Item 12, which saddens me. Receive with regrets the resignation of Amber Dilbeck as a member of the governing body effective at the conclusion of this regular meeting. You know, if we don't accept it.
I know, what happens if you don't?
I was contemplating the same.
It's great to have you on the council.
Thank you, I've
It's
enjoyed
really,
it.
it's been a benefit to me, it certainly has.
Thank you.
It's been great to work with you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for what you've done for us.
Can we just motion to table it till further?
Oh, man. Well, it doesn't really require a motion of any kind. So. She's going to walk regardless of what we say. So anyway, thank you, Amber.
Thank you.
Item 13, discuss and consider approval of the specifications and advertise for certain playground equipment for the Lions Park. This is what Melanie was speaking to a while ago. So this is just a motion to advertise for bids for this project.
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
White,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dilbeck,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Goldar,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Item 14, consider payment of retainage and outstanding balance for prior street work to Evans and Associate Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $17,977.23. So apparently, back about 3 years ago, they forgot to bill us for something.
Darn their luck.
Yeah. I think statute of limitations is 2. But anyway, so we need to pay this.
Well, it's out of street funds that we're still setting aside. We had appropriations, we had encumbrance of those, so we'll just pay.
We're just drawing interest on it for a couple of years.
Exactly.
That
We just kept the
0.02%
money.
interest.
So this doesn't affect.
Well, and originally, whenever they come back, they had a much higher number. After working through it, this is what the actual residual was.
So this doesn't affect the streets, that balance? Okay.
motion, council?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
White,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Delbeck,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Goddard,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Item 15, any new business that needs to come before the council this evening? Hearing none? Take a deep breath. Take a seat. Item 16, consider convening an executive session to confer on, one, confidential matters pertaining to economic development of the city of Perry relating to the economic development agreement with Blue Badger Investments of Perry LLC and a Oklahoma Limited Liability Company and a Blue Badger Properties of Perry LLC and Oklahoma Limited Liability Company and a development of Perry Commercial Park, as the public disclosure of this matter will interfere with the implementation of the agreement. Number two, to confer on a matter pertaining to economic development of the city of Perry to discuss a proposal to entice the location of a residential developer to the community to build single-family dwellings, duplexes, multifamily housing, thereby approve the economic development of the city of Perry, or the city, as a public disclosure of the proposal will interfere with the development and implementation of the proposal, the Woods Project. Number three, consider on a matter pertaining to the economic development of the city of Perry to discuss a proposal to remodel and extend the lease of the hospital and thereby approve the economic development of the city of Perry, as a public disclosure proposal will interfere with the development of implementation of a proposal. Item four, discuss the negotiations concerning the collective bargaining agreement with the Fraternal Order of the Police, Lodge 137, pursuant to 25 OS 307B2 of the Oklahoma statute as amended. Number five, to conduct a performance evaluation of city manager Larry Pennell as provided in his employment agreement pursuant to 25 section 307B1 of the Oklahoma statutes as amended. Motion, please.
Motion to consider convening into executive session.
Second.
Roll call, please.
White,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Delbeck,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Goddard,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I would like to, I don't know what number it is, but reconvene into regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
White,
Here.
Coffee,
Here.
Brown, Dilbeck,
Here.
Vaughn,
Here or yes?
Coldheim,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Is there taking any action deemed necessary from executive session?
Are we gonna do something with the police?
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agreement with the FOP as agreed to.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
White,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Brown, Dilbeck,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Coldheim,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
White,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dilbeck,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Coldheim,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.